have that connection brings a certain fire inside of you. It feels real.
If that's not joy, I don't know what is.
I've always been grateful for every opportunity.
There's a lot of people that want to simplify their lives, but don't really know how to do that.
There's a beauty to flexibility and a simplicity.
Throughout the world, there are people who have created lives of deep meaning and happiness by connecting with nature and the processes of simplification. Come with me on a journey and let's find out how they've done it. How did a SoCal boy end up wandering?
Well, I mean, we did have a cabin in the mountains growing up, and I got to taste nature and touch on it a little bit. But yeah, when I was 17, I just felt a calling to go up to Yosemite Valley and live up there. And I got introduced to all this in a lot of ways through climbing. Because when I first started climbing, it really reflected the way I would live in the city, which was like, you gotta hit it straight on. Determination, drives your goals, and that's what's going to help you accomplish things in life. So I started climbing, and that's when I get on the rock. That's what it looked like. It looked like raw determination. In fact, friends always said, "Yeah, watching you climb's like watching the Olympics," because I'd just be like grunting and dragging myself up the rock. And after about a year of just climbing that way and realizing it's not really accomplishing anything for me. So I remember just sometimes on my lunch break at work, just going to the rock and just sitting there and literally just staring at the wall for an hour. And just appreciating, for the first time, appreciating the rock and everything it had to offer, all its little nooks and crannies and its colors and textures and everything about it. And then I'd start climbing, just really paying attention to it, really thinking about how does the rock want me to touch it and move on it. And my climbing got better at that point.
And you pretty quickly transitioned from climber into the woods. You just started moving away from that kind of sport-oriented to more of the integration, I guess I'd call it.
Yeah, it all meshed together. Like I was studying plants at that time, and then took that to taking long runs out into the woods and staying out for the night and just say, okay, I'm here, I don't have anything. What do I do to survive tonight? And that would stem from collecting some plants and building a shelter. And I loved it, like the connection to the land. Like you can't describe it. You just feel so alive when you might be a little bit thirsty, or you might be cold or hungry, but to have that connection brings a certain fire inside of you. It feels real. It feels really solid and good.
You on a regular basis used to run 20, 30 miles a day.
Yeah.
And not on trails, cross country.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed the running growing up, and for me, I didn't own a car, in my early part of my life. So even when I was in my early 20s, I was living in Sequoia National Park, and I made it a commitment, a goal to not set foot in a vehicle, even somebody else's.
And so then you started down a path of primitive survival skills. I mean, and was that really due to necessity or curiosity or spirituality or some combination?
When I go out on the land from a survival point of view, you'd buy a couple knickknacks here and there, whether they're backpacking gadgets or survival gadgets to make your stay feel easier. But every time I had those things with me in the wilderness, I didn't like looking at them. And I felt disconnected when they were a part of my existence. And for me, like, okay, you know, I'm going out in the land because I want to see it. I want to see its full beauty. So in order to see that, I also felt like I had to become that. So by leaving all that stuff behind and doing what we call primitive skills today, it gives you that extra added connection to the land that's really critical to not feel alienated from the environment. Like I spent 6 months out in the wild alone without coming into town, and I don't think I would have been able to do that if I made a lot of gadgets and rifles and survival gear part of my existence.
Mm-hmm.
But by paring down, you feel like, okay, I belong here.
So what are some of the things that you do when you're living, you know, a little bit more conventionally at times?
Yeah.
To stay connected.
In our society, no matter where you are, you know, even if you're in a big city, we still need to stop, appreciate the, you know, weeds going through the cracks in the sidewalk. We always have the sky above us, you know, we always have the clouds, the colors that are in the sky, you know, the smells of plants when we walk by. There's always something, and it's a big reflection of their state of being. If you're not taking the time to acknowledge how beautiful these things are and how much you were once a part of them, then you sort of get just lost in the combobulation of trying to make a buck, the stresses of trying to look pretty, and you know, all the societal pressures that we've established on ourselves. You know, we still have this connection that's really important to keep, and if we don't keep it, you know, we're denying one part of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, and I think for a lot of people, like we really love it. It's not something we do just because it's like we're trying to be high almighty and, you know, this is what it takes to develop, you know, you. We like being out here and, you know, experiencing the land and it's like all the joys and highlights that happen, like when you start a fire, when you collect a plant and you make it taste good for the first time. Like that's exciting. You know, I just took this hide that was all like, had like blood and fat hanging on it, and now I made like really cool clothes. You know, it's fun. It's just satisfying.
Well, I've certainly loved walking this land with you because it brings a whole another light always, and the land certainly speaks for itself, but being out in it with you definitely adds another dimension, and one that I appreciate very much, and I'm really glad that we were able to sit down and talk a little bit. Appreciate you taking the time to do so.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Me Simple is building a website around the topics of simple living, finding gratitude, and connection with nature and the world around us. If you know of individuals, books, articles, or videos that address these topics, please share them with us today at mesimple.com.